All right, in this video, I'm going to show you how you can use diagonal lines to create your masterpiece in your Desmos art project. Okay, so we've talked about horizontal and vertical lines. Those are really important in our drawing process. But what about a diagonal line, okay, or an increasing or decreasing line? So I'm going to start with y equals, okay, and I'm going to start with the parent function of linear, which is y equals x. All right, so what I'm wanting to do is on my box that I created, I'm actually creating a house. I want to put a roof on, okay? So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to just make a little triangular roof. So right now, my line is going right through my house. So I need to move it up. So I'm going to change the y-intercept because my y-intercept right now is 0. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change that to 1. And so it moved it up, but not enough. So I'm going to move it up to 2. All right, so now I have my roof and it's hitting the edge of my house, which is what I want, and it's going up to a peak. All right, so now I have half my roof, and I'll cut it in a minute. But the other thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and get the other side of my roof. So I'm going to make a new equation, and I'm going to type it y equals. Now, this is an increasing line. Well, to go the other side of my roof, I want it to decrease. So I'm going to make that my slope negative. So I'm going to make a negative x, okay? And I could get real fancy, and I could change the slopes up, but my slope right now is just 1 over 1, or 1. And I'm going to put plus 2 also, okay? Obviously, that's not high enough. So I'm going to keep playing with this and changing the y-intercept, okay? So now if I wanted this to cross up here, I want it to go down this way. So my y-intercept is going to be way up here. So I'm going to just put plus 10. I still don't think that's high enough, but I can get a visual. Now, again, that's what I love about Desmos is we can change. We're actually doing all these transformations. So I'm going to change it to 12, and there we go. So now I have the top of my roof. Now the problem is my roof is extending forever, just like before. So I need to set some boundaries. So I'm going to start with my blue line here. My y equals x plus 2, and I need it to start here and to end at the peak, okay, the edge of my house to the peak. So you could do it either way. You can think in terms of the x-axis or the y-axis. I'm going to think in terms of x. So I'm going to come up here. I want to go domain, and I'm going to go ahead and put it in. All right, and so now, look, I got lucky. It started right where I wanted to. That's because I wanted to cut it or snip it at x equals 2, okay? I'm cutting it at 2, but then it's going all the way to 8, okay, which is way too far. I want to stop at the peak. So the peak is right here, so I'll go down on the x-axis. It's right between 4 and 6, so that should be 5. And now I have the right domain. So I wanted y equals x plus 2, but I wanted the graph to only show up between x is 2 and x is 5. So I'm using the x as kind of a ruler, okay? Anytime I'm measuring left or right, I'm using the x-axis as a ruler, and the range is my y-axis, and I could have done y. I could have used range and put the range as 4 to 7, and it would have done the same thing. I'll show you. If I change this to a y, and I'm going to use range instead, I could have went 4 to 7, and it does the same thing. I'm just using a different ruler. I'm using the y-axis instead of the x-axis. Okay, so now let's do the same thing with my green line. Okay, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to use domain again. And so obviously you can see it went from 0. So I'm using I was going to use range, but I used domain. I used range. So it's going from 0 to 4. So I'm using this scale, 0 to 4. That's not what I want. I want it to go from 4 to 7. So match this one. I could have just copied and pasted the last one, and it would have done the same thing. Now notice if I would have wanted to use x, which to me is a little bit easier on this one because I can just look straight down. So I wanted it to start at 5 and go to 8. Okay, so there's no wrong way to do this, okay? It's just your perspective and which axis you're using to set the domain range. You have a lot of freedom with this project. So now I have my little house. I got my roof, all right? So I want my roof to be black. So I'm going to change the color to black, and there we go. All right, and you can take this, and I want you to expound upon it greatly. Good luck, have fun, and look out for more videos.